Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the LiveFitNow podcast. My name is Vicky Brown and I am your host. I hope you are well today, and I cannot wait for you to listen to today's conversation with a very lovely lady about a subject you very well may not have heard about. So it will be interesting to see what you think of the episode. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the podcast and do share with your family and friends to help spread the message of the LiveFitNow podcast. Without further ado, today's conversation. My guest today is a women's health coach, and her coaching is based around a groundbreaking breathwork and movement method called Hypopressives. She is one of the top qualified instructors in the UK in this area, and I know we're going to have lots to dive into today. Her name is Jen Albano. Welcome to the Live Fit Now podcast. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm great, thank you. The sun is shining. I've been busy with clients this morning. I've already got that feeling, how can it only be Monday? But I'm here and ready to go.
We're very happy to have you here. So I always think a great place to start is literally, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got to be doing what you do right now?
I'd love to. So the technique that I teach is called Hypopressives. It isn't all that well known in the UK still, although when I first discovered this method 6 years ago, it was that really weird situation where you Google something and get hardly any returns, and the returns that you did get were all in Spanish. So compared to where hypopressives were 6 years ago to where they are now, you can actually do a Google search and find lots of information about trainers in the UK. So it has come on a long way. My background is I've been a massage therapist for 17 years, and I specialized in massage for illness, and I did a lot of work with people with multiple sclerosis and neurological illness. I had a therapy room within a physio department that specialized in working with people with MS. I had a break from that job when I had my babies. So I've got 3 children. My son was only a year when I fell pregnant with twins.
Wow.
And I took myself back to my massage therapy job probably too soon when I look back. I reckon the twins were only a year old when I went back. And I did put a lot of pressure on myself. And this is when hypopressives first crossed my path. I was massaging a lady who had multiple sclerosis, and she used the hypopressive method to help with bladder control. And as I was massaging her and she was explaining this technique to me and what it did for her, my brain was going, that sounds like something I really, really need to know more about for myself. So having 3 babies so close together did leave me with some problems afterwards, all sorts of problems. So I had back pain that would leave me in tears some mornings trying to get out of bed and straighten up after the night. I had like a partially slipped disc there that had just happened from the pressure of carrying 3 babies so close together with very little recovery in between. I did suffer with urinary leakage, which was quite severe at times. And I was diagnosed with a minor prolapse of the cervix. But all of that was considered really minor. And I do look back now and go, yeah, I did just put so much pressure on myself just to think that these things would get better on their own, that I'd just carry on. I was really into my fitness pre-children, and my body just didn't feel like my own anymore. I didn't really know where to go with fitness. And so when this client was describing to me hypopressives and how it was helping with so many things for her all at once, including bladder problems, which was a key on my list, I decided I really wanted to find out a little bit more. I was really lucky that I had an instructor near me. Like, I honestly do sit back and think, what are the chances of that? Because there wasn't very many instructors in the UK at the time, and she was probably only half an hour from me. And so I trained with her in this method. This method that helps with pelvic floor strengthening, helps with really deep supportive core strength, helps with spine strengthening. And because it is based on breath work also, it's incredibly stress relieving and reviving as well. So a real mental health benefits there as well. And it literally did all of those things for me in one go. And I just did feel like all my Christmases had come at once that I discovered this method, because I had very little time. I had 3 young children, was still running my own business. And to find something that could go, right, my back's feeling better, I've got some core strength back, I'm not wetting my pants quite so much, and I'm feeling a lot happier. That was like win, win, win. This is all sounding awesome. Um, so I was dedicated to my practice for a year, and then people around me wanted to know what I was doing, what was this thing I was doing that had such a big impact. And because of my massage therapy background, I was able to train as instructor. So that's the beginnings of the journey. And I just feel incredibly lucky. And I guess that's a big part of my work now, is trying to get the word out that there is this powerful technique that is enjoyable to do, and just giving other people that chance to hear about it.
Oh, absolutely. I can hear the passion. I don't think you can beat personal experience for driving that, because you personally know just how big a difference that's made to your life. And there's nothing more satisfying, I think, actually, than being able to share that with other people. So perhaps because I have never heard of this, so I'm sure plenty of people listening to this podcast won't have either. So can you go into a little bit more detail of what is a practice? What practices did you start with, and how quickly did you start to notice the benefits when you first began?
Yeah, sure. It takes a bit of explanation. Hypopressives is really different to any other form of exercise. I describe it as a cross between Pilates, yoga, and Tai Chi. It's like the best bits of all of those. And to look at, that's kind of how the practice looks also. So it's yoga-like because it's got the breath involvement as well. It's Pilates-like because it is all about very precision alignment. I am also a Pilates instructor, by the way, so I'm all about that precision alignment.
Yeah.
And it's Tai Chi-like because it's this fluid set sequence of movements that we flow through each time. And that's slightly different for everybody. So I do build a practice that suits each individual's lifestyle and body. But the principles are all the same, and I develop a flow of movements for each individual. Um, so it's incredibly holistic in the way that it works on the body. We are working everything from the inside out, quite literally. So we almost build a lovely aligned frame and structure with the body with our poses. And then we breathe, we learn how to really direct the breath within that frame. So I think of it like building a scaffold almost. So we use like Pilates type, Pilates style cueing to learn how to just put enough tensioning in to build this lovely open structure of the body. And then we take the breath into the diaphragm, into the lower ribs. We take the breath away from the upper chest and the shoulders. And the tummy is part of our breathing mechanism, but it's supposed to be a little bit more involved, a bit more gently at the end, rather than being the first part of our breath. So we're really learning to take breath into lungs, really using the diaphragm, really using the expansion of the rib cage as it was designed to do. And we restore the natural function within the body. So this natural system of the diaphragm and the pelvic floor working together in like this piston effect, which is all about just aligned, strong function. So the poses start from standing. There's about 12 main poses with loads of little adjustments and changes that we can add to them. But we start from standing and work our way down to the floor, with slightly different hand positions in each pose, so that we can almost breathe into every little corner. So we work really within the nervous system, really within the fascia system, really within the muscle chains, to kind of open up a bit like a massage from the inside out, opening into every little corner. The breath that we use is why this exercise translates as low pressure fitness. The breath that we use and the way that we breathe takes the pressure away from any other part of the body. So most traditional core exercises, if you think of your sit up, you get that little dome in the tummy as you come into a sit up. So everybody's got weaknesses. I was going to say if you've got weaknesses in the body, but everybody's got weaknesses somewhere. So if you think about a weakness in the spinal column, or a weakness in the abdominal wall, or for women postnatally, weaknesses in the pelvic floor, that pressure has to go somewhere in the body. And over time, we can make those weaknesses worse. So this way of exercising is completely different because we don't create that pressure. So we lift the pelvic floor, we create like a vacuum effect that contracts all of those corset muscles in one even movement, so that we create that even deep core strength from the inside out.
It is, I love it. It sounds, it just makes sense. You know, sometimes when you're just listening to how it's an approach and the fact that it molds many different, very successful areas of training our bodies as well, bringing it together. Yeah, I can really see how it works. And what kinds of people do you generally work with? Like, have people come to you down the similar lines as you did, or actually are people coming from all different backgrounds and finding you?
I love that you've asked that question, actually, because as I've had a bit of business support over the years, you might know this yourself, that we kind of get taught in the business world you've got to solve one problem, that, you know, choose the problem that you're solving, that's who you market to. And I have found that impossible to do that with hypopressives.
Me too.
Yeah, do you feel the same? Um, and I spent ages thinking, how can I do that? Because I feel like the magic of this method is that it ticks so many important boxes all at once. So hypopressives are best known in the pelvic health world. That is where they are most known. They've also got a place in the athletic world. So if you think about retraining diaphragm, lung function in the athletic world, and posture and alignment, that's super important. So there's already a massive range there from pelvic floor through to professional athletes. But I'm mostly working with women, mums, because obviously the pelvic health and the core is a little bit more important for us postnatally. So that tends to be the clients that I'm drawing to me. But I've got a mother and daughter pair at the moment who are both training, and I'm working with a little boy who's 7 who is using this to help with ADHD. And the eldest lady I've trained is in her 90s, and because all we're looking to do is to keep our bodies as fit and as well and as happy as we can for as long as possible. And that's applicable to everybody. And when you think about spinal strength, when you think about posture, when you think about core strength, and when you think about the stress management, which I haven't hugely spoken about yet, but the stress management effect of this is huge. So I have people coming to me for each of those lead reasons. Somebody might come because of urinary leakage and pelvic floor issues. Somebody might come because they just want to feel stronger in their bodies. I've got people with back problems. I've got people who are here for stress and anxiety management. And we can tick all of those boxes really powerfully in one go. And I always feel like that word powerfully is important in that sentence, because when we're doing lots of things at once, it would be easy to think that you're doing them in a bit of a watered down way. And what I'm so passionate about with this method that it isn't. It is almost like the best of the best for each of those techniques. It's enjoyable to do. It doesn't take very long, and I teach it as your new healthy habit for life, literally for life.
That's one of my phrases too.
Is it? We've never shared catchphrase.
I think it's so important. You know, I think everything when it comes to lifestyle, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. And I think, you know, there's often the misconception that actually you just need to focus on one thing, but there's always layers to it. There's always lots of different pieces, some of which are easier for people to get to grips with than others. But it is about bringing it together, because they marry together and they help each other. And if you've got one of those pieces missing, it never quite fits right.
No, and I think the world really is starting to wake up to this mind-body connection. I've been listening to a series at the moment by one of the world's leading anatomists who actually trains surgeons, and he is leading the way in really, really starting to understand how we can't think about the body as a machine and as separate parts anymore. You know, the mind-body connection from head to toe, from inside out, is incredibly real and cannot be overlooked.
Yeah, and the research just grows and grows, which is fantastic. But again, it does make complete sense. Actually, when you were describing the people you work with, have you ever worked with singers?
I do. Yeah, I haven't directly worked with like a professional singer, but the number of people who talk about, yeah, how they just feel that their voice improves after this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And musicians in general, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of breath holding and not properly using the strength within the body when you're connecting with these things. I love it. I have so many questions, but I'm trying not to get caught up in missing out. I think this is one I really like to ask people, but I'm not even sure if you're necessarily going to have any, because I don't think enough people know about it yet. Are there any common myths linked to your work that you'd like to debunk? Or perhaps if there aren't many myths yet, the sorts of things that you can see that people might get a bit.
No, I can easily answer that question actually. So pelvic floor health for one, this idea for women that that's just what happens as you get older, that is to be expected, that urinary leakage is a thing. And urgency to get to the loo, or that feeling of needing to know where the closest loo is all the time, that's normal. And I think the way that we joke about it, we get mums jumping on the trampoline, all of those kind of things. Um, yeah, I definitely think that there's a myth there to be busted, in that isn't the new norm, after children or as you get older. It really doesn't have to be. There are things you can do to help yourself, definitely. So yeah, there's a myth to be busted there, that just doesn't have to be the way that you live. And a myth around breath work in general, even that phrase, breath work. I think as humans, we think that things have to be hard and fast, and we have to sweat. And I definitely used to fall into this category. If it didn't hurt, if it didn't take an hour, it wasn't worth doing. And I'm so pleased to not live in that space anymore. And I would say that since I realised we can do some stuff for ourselves in shorter periods of time, slower, more connected, more controlled, but really forming a habit of having that as a regular practice. I would say that I've probably got happier, healthier, and stronger since I realised that it didn't have to be all or nothing. So I think there's a bit of a myth to be busted there around the benefits of breath work, and that it isn't, that it really can bring benefits to everybody, that it's something worthy of your time.
It's something so simple, and then once you know the skills, it's free as well. It's always with you. You don't need anything else. And I think that's actually incredibly powerful to know that at any second you can call upon your breath, and it can genuinely calm you down, de-stress you, and just refocus yourself back into the moment, because we can so easily just get out of the moment. So it really is one of the most powerful tools we can possibly have in our toolkit. And as you were saying, it allows you to be consistent. I think as long as you think you have to always have big stretches of time to do anything, it makes it so much less likely to happen, or it will be the thing that gives way. Whereas when you can just do a minute here or a minute there or 5 minutes here, you can get the consistency. And as we all know, consistency is without doubt the key. Being all or nothing, it's great for a while, but then it goes again, and you're constantly having that yo-yo battle, which again makes you think, oh, can I be bothered to do that again? Whereas if you can just keep it going steady, you get so much more from it in the long term, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I always say to people, this is here to support you through the good days and the bad and everything in between. And if you're looking at a habit for life, you've got to be able to dial it up and down to fit with the everyday. It doesn't have to look the same every day. And so empowering people to have a flow of movements and breath work that they know like the back of their hand. So you've already got that practice skill for when it's a really bad day or a really bad month, or we're talking about a lifelong habit. It could be a bad year.
Yeah.
You know how to adapt this to fit in, and you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's yours to fit in and get something from. And then, as energy returns and you're feeling good, and I love standing in the sun and doing my breath work. And on a sunny day, I will be out there for half an hour, really enjoying a full body flow. And there'll be other days where I'm just going to lie on the floor and breathe for 5 minutes, and that is still worth my time. And in habit change, that's holding the space for that habit too. It's holding the space to put that habit back in. And yeah, being all or nothing, like you just said, isn't the way to really get lifelong results.
Exactly. So based on that, I'm going to ask you a question. So I guess I'm going to ask a two-pronged question. What is the minimum, and is it a daily routine that you set for people? And what would be the maximum commitment for people? Obviously taking away the fact that we're always breathing and we can turn to it like in a split second, but bringing the flows together, I'm guessing that's slightly more.
Yeah, so to put like a breathwork and movement flow together, so I use the phrase a daily practice, but in reality, I work with people to see what that looks like for them. So some people do prefer to have like a 10-15 minute routine every day. But because I work with such a wide range of people, so to give you an example, if I'm working with a mum who's got really small children, and like, I'm so grateful for my experience of being able to fit this into my life when my kids were tiny, it might be that I really can teach somebody how to break down a 15-minute flow so that you can stand and do 5 minutes while the kettle's boiling, or kids are happy watching TV and you can literally be in the mess in the living room, sweep the Lego out of the way and get yourself on the floor and do a couple of poses. That it doesn't have to be a continuous flow. It's all about quality. What I teach is really, really about quality of movements. So it does look different for everybody, but to give you a rough idea, most flows are around 15-20 minutes, which gives us a nice range of like head to toe poses. And I would say the average is 4 or 5 times a week for most people. But it's really enjoyable. People miss it. I get messages saying I really miss it if I haven't done it. And isn't that just the most amazing place to get to when that happens? That's when you know a habit's really forming. So it's enjoyable. When it comes to habit forming, it's all got to be about making it enjoyable and pleasurable. Otherwise, our brain just does not want us to do it. So people want to do it is my answer to that question. But to get results, yeah, you are looking at 4 or 5 times a week to really get that deep core strengthening going in, to really retrain the way that the body breathes, and to have this as a tool for discharging stress. So it just simmers the top off of stress, this method, and using breath. It just simmers the top off of those stress levels so we never get to that point of bubbling over. And we want that as a regular practice.
It's a tool you can just refer to at any time, isn't it? What have you found to be your biggest challenge in helping and educating people in this?
Partly the idea that breathwork is worthy of your time, and this is way more than breathwork anyway. This is like a full body structure that goes on as part of that with our poses. So I guess partly that, getting people to take that seriously and the benefits that you can get from that. And the reason I trained as a habit change coach is because I wanted to take this just out of solely the fitness box and to really get people this idea that you can form it as a habit for life. I am deadly serious about us standing and doing this when we're 90 and have the strongest, most flexible core and body that we can have, and to have had this way of managing stress all of our lives, it just becomes second nature. So I guess another challenge that I had was helping people with that habit forming part, the actually getting up off the sofa and doing the thing. And that's why my coaching program now is 12 weeks long, for that exact reason, that I really needed people to know how to get out of their own way and do it. So my program now is designed that I can coach people through the messy middle of habit change. So, the beginning when you start something new and it's all exciting and it's the best thing since sliced bread and you can't wait to tell everybody your fantastic new habit. And then somewhere along the line, it gets a bit boring and a bit normal and, the excitement's gone a bit. I need to be able to coach people through that. And then you get to the end where it's on cruise control. And that's the bit I want to get people to. So I learned really on that one of my biggest challenges was helping people form a very real, secure habit that was there for life.
Yeah. Is it one of those things that's actually so personalized that it doesn't work in a class format, or is it just that you prefer to work with people one-to-one?
There are people teaching out there in a class format, but probably once you've learnt the method to begin with. So most hypopressive coaches you'll find will do one-to-one work first of all, and then you might get tapped into a class. I personally find that I really, really want to get behind the scenes of people's lives and bodies. Like, you know, in your work too, that the more you get to know an individual's body, that just the more you can make that very real change. And I want people to really have something that's a tool for the rest of their lives. I want them to work with me and then to still be doing this to support their bodies right up to old age. And I feel like that's the one-to-one investment and commitment that you make gets you there.
No, I can see that. I'm always fascinated. I think again, it's getting down underneath forming those habits, isn't it? Because actually for some people, like they enjoy that community of a class. So I guess for some people almost that helps them continue with it because it keeps triggering, it reminds them of things, and it has that routine. But you're managing to break it down further so that it's more underlying almost.
Yeah, and I do really believe in that actually. So my routines, my program is called the Rest Routine, and the REST standing for Revive, Empower, Strengthen, and Thrive. And my favorite word in that is the E for empower, because I do find I can see a change in my clients actually when they get to a point where it's theirs, where they don't need my recordings anymore. You know, I give lots of resources in the beginning when it's all new, but when you get to that point where it's just yours, and I have people messaging me to say they've stopped on a dog walk and stood in the sunshine, you know, while the dog's bombing around, and breathed and stood in a few poses, or on holiday. Like, I love getting these messages where people have taken it on holiday with them, and it gets ingrained as a routine that is yours and you get to make it your own. And so, yeah, there absolutely are people who like that group environment. And I do have a Facebook group where I bring people together to keep a bit of that community aspect, because that's true. But working with people long enough so that they do get empowered in this method as their own is where the real magic starts to happen.
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense actually. That's a question I like to ask everybody, and that is, what inspires you?
Oh, what inspires me? What inspires me is seeing people make really small, easy changes in their lives that just make them feel so much better. It's the small stuff, like more and more and more. I just feel all the time that it's the small, simple stuff that actually gives us that lift. Um, I powerfully believe that our energy is everything. Our energy is everything. And if you can keep yourself in a good energy, then that affects everybody around you. And so this idea of taking some time for yourself as being selfish, you know, I'm loving breaking that myth. Back to your breaking that myth. And so I get so inspired by seeing women, is mostly who I'm working with, get to that empowered place where they can see that they really are the most important person in the equation in terms of protecting their own health and energy, so that they can send that out to their families, to their work colleagues, to whatever area of life. So, and I just find it super inspiring seeing people click into that idea that actually all that really matters here is my energy. Um, and finding really small, simple ways to do that, whether that be standing and breathing in the sun for 5 minutes, you know, whether that just be allowing yourself to sit in silence for 5 minutes. Just finding those small little ways and then forming them as habits, rather than just these quick little things that we learn and then forget about as soon as we learn them. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think that's exactly it. And you are absolutely right. It's people reach a point where they realize they can't ignore themselves anymore. And I think life so easily does take over, you know, particularly when you've got a family to look after. And it's so normal for everyone else to be put first before putting yourself first. But ultimately, what is happening is you're giving less and less and less. And I think the most important thing is getting in there first, building your foundation so you don't reach that complete breaking point as well. Almost learn the skills before you need them, and then when you need them, you've already got them.
Yeah, completely. Which is back to that habit forming part again, that you can't just bring these tools out in a moment of crisis. You know, they need to be really embedded in as a way of life. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. So how do people find you? Because I'm guessing people aren't necessarily Googling hypopressives.
No,
That's
no.
a real challenge.
Yeah, I've been a bit slow on that front. So I've trained basically where I live. I have trained a massive circle of women all around me.
Yeah.
And actually, my business name, the Secret Core Club, came about because there were groups of women standing in fields. I'm passionate about practicing outdoors. I don't think I've actually said that clearly. So I get outdoors doing this with people as often as possible. I've been out breathing in the field in the frost this morning. So the Secret Core Club came about because people would look at us going, I don't think they're doing yoga. I don't think they're doing like circuit training. So that's actually where that name came about. So I've just spread a little ripple around me. And it has just been a bit of a ripple effect, in all honesty. Lots of referrals have been great. And I've got a bit of a community building in the Facebook world now. And I am training people around the world. Since lockdown, I got much braver at being online, and as long as people have got a good screen set up, I can really still bring this to people in a powerful way through Zoom, the power of Zoom.
Yeah.
So yeah, Facebook mostly, and just general word of mouth is how it's going at the moment.
I mean, it kind of has to be, doesn't it? I mean, that's how you discovered it in the first place. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's an extremely powerful way of getting the word out, essentially.
Yeah.
That was actually my next question. Was it something, or is it something that you have been able to translate easily online, but it has worked?
Yeah, it has. It's all to do with the personal connection. I really take time before I take a new client on. I really take time to make sure that we're a good match. And because that's even more important in the Zoom world, for that connection to be there. And I absolutely take time to make sure I feel like we're going to be a good fit. And then, yes, I'm really pedantic about people's screen setup. But yeah, I've been training people all around the world, which is really exciting, to have those connections and to take it out a bit wider. Yeah, it's really exciting to be able to bring it to people everywhere and anywhere, really.
What is your vision for the future, whether it be for your business or perhaps just Hypopressive? Do you want people to know about it as much as they know about yoga and Pilates and all those things?
Yes, I think, yeah, I really believe that. Like I said, I'm a Pilates instructor. I've got my own yoga practice, but I feel there is just something super accessible about hypopressives that it's just ticking so many in boxes at once, including the pelvic floor health angle for women also. It's helping with people reverse prolapses and avoid surgery. So there's some really powerful stuff that goes on here also. Um, and it's quick, it's easy, it's enjoyable, it's powerful, it's incredibly accessible. And so I just would like to see so in answer to that question actually is a little bit of a vision. In lots of Eastern cultures, a bit like Tai Chi, those cultures have a practice, have a movement and breathwork practice that is just a get out of bed and do it thing that's there to protect your body. We
Yeah.
just don't have that in this country. Yoga is the closest thing. But I still feel that that's not very wide.
No, I don't think it's accessible enough for a lot of people. Now, as much as, when you've done it, you realize that yoga is for everybody, literally, that's the point. We can
Yeah.
do it. We work from what we can do. But for a lot of people, it feels like something they can't do.
Yeah.
Sounds like this is something that, again, we can all do and we can all incorporate it in. And I was going to say, if someone already has, a fitness routine, is this the sort of thing that just slots in underneath it all? So you can still do, if you like your classes or you go to the gym or whatever your fitness routine is, this is like underneath foundation that's just going to make everything else better.
Yes, 100% it is. In that it build, and I feel if it is like an injury protection, it's a bit of a deep core foundational strength for anything else that you want to do in life, whether that be walking, running. I trained a man recently who was hoping to beat the world record for running the London Marathon in full army combat gear in the quickest time ever.
Brilliant.
And so I was training him, as you might imagine, to really get his alignment totally in tune, and to be able to breathe efficiently underneath that heavy kit. And he used this as just, that little icing on the cake to really bring everything into alignment. He got cramp, sadly, on the way round and had to stop for a massage.
Oh, bless him.
He still did an amazing time, considering he also had to stop, but he didn't break that record, unfortunately.
He'll have to do it again. Did he come to sessions or do sessions with you in the outfit?
Yeah, I did a couple of times. Yeah. There's some photos. I can find some photos of that. Yeah, he did. But yeah, so I'm using that as an example to show that it is that real deep foundation. And I love that idea that as we get older, we want to be doing those things that we love for as long as we can, whether that is being able to sit on the beach and build sandcastles with your grandkids, or whether that is still because you've got massive ambitions for doing big, long walking holidays. Whatever that is, we just want that mobility, that flexibility, and we want that positive outlook for our future health.
Yeah.
I find that one thing is also hugely empowering. And back to my E again in the rest routine, is hugely empowering. Just knowing I am doing something to protect my health and my strength for life, that one thing makes a massive difference.
We have so many similar phrases that we and this is like, I literally, the thing I say, we are living longer, but we don't want to just be alive. We want to be living. And that is why it's so important to do it now. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. I will also always say, and I have a feeling you're going to say the same, it's never too late to start. Never think it's too late to start. And also, if you do feel like, if some people are not in the best shape and struggle to do simple things, but this sounds like something that is a fantastic place to actually start.
Oh, it is.
It's important to start, doing the right thing at the right level. I'm always talking to my clients, we figure out where you're at, we start, and we're building your foundation, and we build from there. It doesn't matter where it is. It's about your journey and starting and building yourself up.
I trained a lady in her 80s, and she just wanted to be able to get up and down out of her chair a bit more easily, and to feel like I just said, and to feel like she was doing something to protect her health. And she loved it. She did a very small version of this method, but it completely fitted in for her life and what she wanted, and she could stand up and down out of her chair more easily. And in her world, that was super, super important, and made her feel strong.
Yeah, the old, oh, I'm too old for that doesn't sit with us, does it?
No, never.
Oh, I love it. It sounds absolutely fascinating. I'm definitely going off and Googling this after. I want to know so much more about it. If there was one thing that you would advise people to start with for their well-being, I feel like I don't know this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is the one thing you would start with if you had 5 minutes with someone and they were just like, they don't know what to do with themselves? What would you say? Oh, you just try this.
I would get them to take 5 minutes to really think about how they were sitting and where in their bodies they were breathing. I would teach them a 5-minute little breath routine, of learning to take breath into the lower ribs, into the diaphragm, away from the upper chest, really enjoying a long exhale. And straight away, there is nothing woo-woo about this idea that the signals that go from our lungs when we breathe in that way, like via our nervous system to our brain, those signals literally tell your body that all is well. That's what your brain receives. Your brain receives a message to say, I would not be breathing in this way if anything is wrong. Therefore, I can relax, I can rest, I can digest, I can repair, I can heal. If you could do 5 minutes of one thing a day, give your brain and your body those signals to say that all is well.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. Because it is the most simple place to start, isn't it? It really is, and it's so powerful. And as you say, it's some people have never considered it before. They've never thought about breathing, and you can almost get them to take one breath deep and they feel immediately different. It's one of the quickest ways of feeling different, even when you don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. And I was one of those people. Until I discovered this method, I would not have given breath work the time of day. I really wouldn't have done until I got to experience it for myself. So I understand why
Yeah.
people are going, breathing, what's that going to do for me?
I breathe all the time. I'm alive.
Yeah, but it's using it as that tool, for and then tied with all the postures that go with the hypopressive method. We just roll that all together to be a way of supporting body and mind from inside out every day for life.
Oh, I swear we must have made the same book of phrases. It correlates so well together.
Perfect.
So I like to always sort of draw these things to a close by giving you the floor to share one thing that you think everyone would benefit from knowing.
Oh, I feel like I've had the floor quite a lot here, so thank you for giving it to me again. Well, I'm going to repeat what I just said actually, because it is this realizing there is a mechanism within our body that is designed to help us move through stress, anxiety. Our bodies were designed this way. We are supposed to feel stress. Stress is there for a reason, to protect us. We are just not supposed to get stuck in it. That's where the problems occur. That's where chronic illness occurs. That's where things start to go wrong. So let's just learn how the human body evolved to give us these mechanisms and use them. So movement being the number one, breath being right up there next to it, and then positive human connection is the other one, safe human connection. Those are the body's top 3 ways of going, do you know what? Everything must be okay, because I can still move and I'm breathing this lovely, calm, peaceful way that's sending signals to my brain to say all is well. And do you know what? I've got my tribe around me and I'm feeling safe. Those are the top 3 things that you can learn to move yourself out of a space where you might be feeling stressed, worried, anxious, unwell, whatever label you want to give it. Our body have got these tools built within us. It's just learning to use them, and it's learning to use them as a habit and as a routine. Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Fantastic, thank you. And I will pop all the details in the show notes, but if someone listening to this wants to learn a little bit more, where is the best place to find you?
Oh, come and find me on Facebook, I'm going to say. So my website is The Secret Core Club, but it is under a bit of a review at the moment. I'm really active in the Facebook world, so you can find me, Jen Albano, or The Secret Core Club. And I just launched a new group called The Living Room, Finding Calm in the Chaos for Busy Mums. So yeah, I'm really active in the Facebook world, and I'm always happy to chat, as you probably have learned from listening to me on here. So I'm always happy for people to message me anytime to find out a bit more too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great conversation. I'm fascinated by the whole hypopressives. That word is going to be in there now. Yeah, thank you for your time. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like there's loads more chat to be had.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Live Fit Now podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. I would love to hear from you, so don't forget you can get in touch through social media, clicking through the links in the show notes, or email me directly, hello@livefitnow.co.uk. Until the next time.